What's up, guys? It's Jordan with the Laundromat Resource Podcast. This is show number 33, and I'm pumped that you're here today because today we're talking with Peter Mayberry. And Peter is, if you have entrepreneur blood in you, you've got to listen to this entire episode because Peter he's got entrepreneur blood running straight through his veins. We talk a ton about laundromats today, and he gives a ton of great advice about laundromats, but we talk about other businesses also and the things that he's doing, some of his goals and aspirations, and they are all over the place. From more laundromats and more laundromat locations to self-storage to hotels to even he's trying to get a casino, and he's going to talk about that. I mean, he is doing big things. He's got big goals, big aspirations, and he is always looking for opportunity. I loved every second of this interview, and I know you will too. So I don't want to take up too much time in this intro part, but I did want to give a laundromat insider tip. I'm going to try to give one of these going forward, laundromat insider tips, just to help you use Laundromat Resource to help you find greater and greater success. Today's laundromat insider tip is this. If you haven't yet, make sure you create an account, a free membership account on the website, and it gives you access to member resources. So all you got to do is log in, click on member resources up at the top menu, and it gives you access to a bunch of free resources that you can use to help you succeed. And I'm going to be building those out more and more. We're working on some stuff over here to help you find more success with those free member resources. So make sure you check those out. Use those to help you do everything from figure out what a good location is to figuring out how to value a laundromat. And there's a tool on there to help you keep track of your coin collections if you need help with that. There's all kinds of stuff going on over there. So make sure you click on those and check those out. I want to remind you, those forums are active. There's a lot going on over there. I'm not going to go over any today because we have a long interview, but make sure every single week you are asking a question, answering a question, and I hope that you wake up in the middle of the night hearing my voice say, go ask a question, answer a question on the forums, because it's so key to be meeting people, to be interacting with people. Those forums are free of charge. You can go over there and network. And if you haven't yet, obviously go over there to the introductions forum, laundromatresource.com/forums. Click on the introductions forum, go introduce yourself and go welcome someone else who's introduced themselves on the forum. I can't tell you how many opportunities can come your way just by meeting other people who are like-minded, who are doing things, who are out there making stuff happen. I just can't tell you how much can come your way from just introducing yourself, putting yourself out there and going and meeting some other people. So go do that. All the links and all the information from today, you can find it at laundromatresource.com/show33. And that's where all the show notes will be. That's where the links from everything will be. And if you haven't yet, whether you're listening on a podcast or on YouTube, do me a favor and do yourself a favor and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything that we're putting out there, because we're just throwing gold around like it's free, like it's nothing. So you do not want to be missing it. All right. So right after this, let's jump into this interview with Peter because it is incredible and you're going to have a lot of information to process after this is going. And as always, stay tuned because at the very end, I'm going to give you my takeaway and I'm going to crack the whip to make sure that you come up with the takeaway too.
In today's world, if your laundromat is not online, you're losing business. Customers increasingly decide who to trust with their laundry by the quality of your web presence. But creating a professional logo and website that instills trust in potential customers and can be found on page 1 of Google can be difficult to create on your own and expensive to purchase through a traditional marketing company. As part of our mission to help laundromat owners succeed and find financial freedom through laundromat ownership, we are launching our done-for-you marketing service tailored specifically for laundromats. After ranking number 1 on Google with our own laundromat website and consulting with many others to help them do the same, we guarantee that we can build you a professional website that ranks on page 1 of Google within 6 months. Our joint expertise in the laundry industry and over 15 combined years in website design and online marketing allow us to offer affordable, transparent pricing for a high-quality web presence for your laundromats. You invest so much into providing your customers a quality laundry experience. Don't let anyone miss out on what you have to offer simply because they can't find you online. Let Laundromat Resource Marketing take care of your online presence so you can take care of your customers. Visit laundromatresource.com/getonline today for more information. That's laundromatresource.com/getonline or click on the link in the description.
Peter, what's up? Thank you for coming on the show today. I'm super excited about this. Cannot wait. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I really appreciate you having me.
Oh man, I'm pumped. I cannot wait to hear your story. And we've talked a little bit and it just got me a little bit more excited about it. So, hey, I know that you have a ton of experience. You have a ton of knowledge about this industry, and thanks for coming on to share it. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you, and how did you get into this industry? Random industry to be in. How'd you get in here?
Well, my name is Peter Mayberry, like you said, but I got in this industry actually. It was actually kind of a weird thing because I was a sales manager for General Electric, and I was becoming more and more successful, and I started having more and more extra income. And I've always wanted to start a business. So really what happened was I had just delved into doing tons of stuff and looking at different businesses. And I wanted to have a business where I could keep my job because I truly did love it. And I did recently leave my job like 2 years ago, but it was a tough situation because I did love it. Like I wasn't a guy that hated my job or like dreaded it. Like I actually quit because I had to decide to keep expanding or to keep my job because it was getting to be where I couldn't do both. But essentially I was looking for a business that I could run and still work. And I actually was gravitating towards car washes, and I was going to buy a car wash, and I just couldn't find a car wash that was for sale, and it was trouble like trying to get them built because of different restrictions on the city and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And even like the zoning for the city, which I knew nothing about, but I learned about zoning and all this other stuff. And then I got onto the laundromat thing, but and the thing with the laundromat deal was like, I kept running into owners and nobody would sell them. Like they absolutely wouldn't even talk to me. And I was like, this must be a great business. Like nobody in Omaha is willing to even talk to me about selling a laundry. So ultimately, I started meeting some different people. I started reading some different forums and whatnot. And I ended up building my first laundromat from scratch. Like I bought a building and converted it to a laundromat. And then, like I said, I got the bug and I just started really enjoying it. I got to be networking. I just started networking in the laundromat community. And then from there on, like I said, then it just kind of gravitated to more and more of my time being dedicated to laundries.
So you jumped in with both feet and you built your first store because you couldn't find one to buy. Is that why you decided to build? Or
so I feel like some people don't even believe this is true, but like I actually found a building and I actually started working with distributors, and one distributor, who I won't mention, did some pretty shady stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I was meeting with another distributor who a guy actually had surgery. So, he was a good guy, and I ended up actually building a store with this guy later on, but he had some medical issues and he ended up being gone for like 6 months. But there's a guy named John Olson that used to run Laundrolux, and I was just searching for equipment and I looked for Electrolux. And at the time there was no Electrolux distributor in Omaha. So I actually had sent what I did is I sent this information, and John Olson was vice president of Laundrolux. He contacted me directly and he was like, you should do Electrolux. And there was no distributor. So I was like trying to figure out how that would happen. Well, it ended up being that was the single greatest phone call I could have ever made, because John Olson is probably one of the greatest people I've ever met. And he's also a great person in the industry, but he actually flew me to New York. I actually got to go and see the Laundrolux facility in New York. And to this day, like John Olson is probably my best friend in the world that doesn't live in Omaha. He without a doubt is my best friend in the world that doesn't physically live in Omaha. And like I said, he got me in touch with other owners and different things. And I And I had a construction background being in sales for General Electric, because I did the electrical side of General Electric. So I knew general contractors and subcontractors, and I basically got them all together. And with John's help, I laid it out, and then I built it. And like I said, I oversaw the building of it, and I bought my equipment directly from Laundry Lux since there was no distributor at the time. So I built my first laundromat without a distributor and without ever being in the industry or without knowing anybody in the industry until Jonathan.
Oh my goodness, man. You just went for it. Was that like nerve wracking to, because that's a lot of money that you're investing into a business you don't know a whole lot about and don't really know a whole lot of people in at that point in time, right?
It was nerve wracking, but I with John Olson, like I said, he definitely is an expert, and he knows, like, he had thousands of resources. So truly, I didn't know what I was getting into, because what I know now versus building from what I knew then, but it was all a learning experience, and there was definitely mistakes I made and issues, but I got through it. That store's still around. It's still a great store. I still actually love the layout of that store, but that's probably because I had John's help. So, and it's also the store where, ironically, I'm not in my office today, because we kind of talked about that before this, but I still go there every day. I love it. It's like always going to be my baby. Always going to be my first.
Oh man. Well, can you tell us a little bit about that experience? What was it like to build a laundromat, as your first foray into the industry?
It was challenging, but the truth is too, there's other distributors. I think one of them comes to mind is like Carl Hendricks. I've never really met Carl, but he has a great website, and it talks about performers and spreadsheets. So I've never met him, but he helped me. This man helped me in New York that doesn't even know me. But I also there's different videos on how to install bases and install equipment. So I just had guys, we literally bought bases. John had connected me with a guy that sold them in California, and we grouted them. We used washers to level them, and we watched the YouTube videos. I did chemical bolts on the first one, because that's what the video we'd watched, and like I said, now fast forward, I've done chemical bolts. I've screwed them directly into concrete. I've done anything and everything. I've done the red heads where you hammer them in. So I have 3 laundromats with 3 different installs, and all of them work. So people have this myth that you have to have professionals install your laundry, and that's the only way. If you just do it right and you take the time and you get the right people, anybody can install them correctly. I feel like that's one of the biggest myths is it avoids the warranty. I'm like, why would it avoid the warranty? Matter of fact, I can tell you this, and I won't mention the distributor. I have built 3 stores personally myself where I've supervised everything on the install. The only store that I had installed by a distributor, this is no lie, is my worst install. And I've had to do more to fix that install than all of the other 3 I did on my own.
Yeah. That doesn't necessarily surprise me. My experience with installers, especially the ones that work with the distributors, is that, they're not anything special, because they're using, maybe there's one guy who knows how to install all this stuff, but they're just using regular, guys to help them install stuff. So, yeah. And
they don't care about the equipment like you would. You just paid $600,000 for the equipment. They probably don't even know what it costs. They're just slamming it in, and they look at it like maybe it's $1,000. They don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always had an issue when I've used an installer. So they're not all bad, but yeah. So it doesn't surprise me.
Well, the professional installation actually cost me the most too, and was the worst. So It cost me the most and was the worst job.
Yeah, man, it's expensive to get these things installed. All right. So you built your first laundromat. Tell me about when you finished. Okay. You decided you're jumping in both feet. You're going all in with laundromats. And so you find a building, you build out a store, and you're throwing open the doors for the first time. Tell me about that a little bit.
So that's where I made some mistakes. So when I built this, I didn't understand that you have contingency funds in building, right? So when I built this, I got a loan for the exact amount to buy the land, to build it out, and to do this. Well, during the course of construction, I had to come $80,000 more out of pocket that wasn't financed, because I didn't realize all the issues and stuff that would arise. So when I first did this, I had a big fund where I felt like I could run a full year without making a profit. Well, with that, it really cost me. So like this account that I had set aside, I'd already used pretty much my entire contingency fund for running the business. So then like when I started, obviously I didn't make money, right? You got the bank bills, you got the water bills, everything else. And even though it's a tremendous area and today it's a great laundromat, when you open the doors, right, people aren't standing in line saying, oh, thank you, I couldn't wait for this. Like, I'm so glad that you're here. I mean, they don't even know about you. So like for the first 6 months, it was rough because like I was using my personal checking account. And thankfully I had a awesome job that, you know, paid 6 figures to where I was able to write checks to keep the business. Cause truly, if I'd have quit my job, I would have been bankrupt. Like I would have been bankrupt right out of the gate. And it would have been because of the not realizing I needed 80,000 extra because of just problems arising and things I didn't think about. But yeah, I mean, it truly was an eye opener. And I think it took me like 6 months. It was funny because like I was blowing through personal savings. And I think at the 6 month mark, I remember having a conversation with my wife and saying, you know, this is it. This is about all we can feed this business. And magically, by the grace of God or some, I mean, I think it's God. I mean, he literally made me profitable, like the exact breaking point for myself.
Second. Yeah.
And the rest is history. But the truth is, and like people would say that was probably horrible, but that first store, I learned so much and understand so much more. And like they always say, like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And with that, I mean, it was wonderful lessons. And like, I've made other mistakes, of course, but well, and like we'll get into it later probably because you're going to probably ask about advice, but financing is a huge deal. Like I didn't realize it, but it definitely is. And we can get into that later, but yeah, it was almost like I'm doing great now, but it almost wasn't meant to be. I came 1 month from catastrophe.
I mean, that's so stressful, so nerve wracking. I made so many mistakes buying my first one and I wrote, you know, big checks every month for like over a year and a half. And it's so hard to watch that money go out and you've already invested all this money into a business and now you're paying to have the business. And it's so stressful, man. I get that. But awesome that you made it to profitability right in the nick of time by the skin of your teeth. And I tell people all the time, like, hey, if you get in this thing right, you know, then sky's the limit for you. You can, you know, as soon as your business is profitable, as long as you're managing your money well, like sky's the limit for you. But if you get into it wrong and you're writing checks every month and you can't dig yourself out of that, well, that's a recipe for disaster real quick.
Right.
Yeah. But was there anything that you feel like you did to get it to that profitability point? Or do you think business just had to build over that 6 months or 7 months or however long to get profitable?
So what I've learned now is that location, I put the sign on the front, but the cars that travel by that location are 45 miles an hour, right? Mm-hmm. So I should have had signage on the building because nobody could even tell what it was. They were driving by it. And this is just something I learned randomly, right? And I've also learned now that when you're from now on, I'm only going to build in like high commercial areas. And like, I kind of got what I feel is like a little secret sauce for successful laundromats. But that one is in a tremendous area, but it just, like I said, you pass by it so quick. It's really close to the road. So that one needed a little bit more advertising. But now even as the development has gone on in that area, like they put, I don't know if you have Quick Trip where you are, but it's a massive gas station. Mm-hmm. Well, they put that right across the street. So tons of my customers use that gas station. And truthfully, I didn't even realize it. And that's when I realized like about location and signage and stuff. But I had a huge jump in business when that gas station was actually built. And I finally came to the realization that people are pumping their gas and they're sitting there looking around. They're like, holy cow, there's a laundromat right here. You know what I mean? So I really believe that the best advertising I ever got was a Quick Trip gas station servicing 5,000 cars a day, filling them over the gas and being able to look around and see that I'm just physically there.
Yeah. Having that captive audience is huge. So they got nothing better to do than to stare at your store and admire it and realize, oh man, this is convenient. Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, that's awesome. And that's, again, like that's a lucky kind of break in some ways, to help you get to that break even point as quickly as you needed to. Okay. So you have built a store, you've thrown open the doors, you had been biting your nails for 6 months until you hit profitability, which I'm sure was incredibly stressful. And I mean, it sounds like you have more than one. So what happened from there?
So I built my first one, and I actually bought my second one. I bought a store that was small and well, I bought my second one, and then I built my third one. I built my fourth one. I got my fifth one for free. I got the building and the land for free. Whoa. And then I built the sixth one. I'm building a seventh one right now. But through all in all, like the one I got for free and the one I bought, I have gotten rid of both of those. And you probably talk later about like how you run your store. Well, they were 2,500 square feet or less. They were both unable to be attended because of the size and the amount of volume they could do. And also, I don't know that there's two stores in Omaha. Like of all of Omaha, there might be like 100 laundromats. There's two stores that I would buy right now, which I've just come to realize. And they're not for sale right now, but there's two I would buy. And there's not a single other one that I would. Like I just build one because a lot of these laundromats are over 20 years old. They're too small for the market. Like they're run unattended. That's the business model. The parking lot's only got like 8 stalls versus like 30. So knowing what I know now, like I will not buy any more laundromats in Omaha except for possibly 2 and only 2. So like, and I've actually had people come to me and say like, hey, would you be interested in buying it? And I'm like, no. And then like, they'll even sometimes say like 4 years ago, you asked me. I said, 4 years ago, I asked everybody because I wasn't in this business. Like now I have different goals. Mm-hmm. And like I said, like I don't, if a location was amazing, I'd probably consider it. But like, I don't ever plan on building a laundromat under 5,000 square foot again. Like it'll be 5,000 square foot. It'll have at least 30. So that's one thing I do too. Like I was saying, like I go out and most of my days right now is like looking for buildings for sale, especially with the pandemic. I just bought a Village Inn, which was a restaurant. And they're kind of, having a hard time during the pandemic. Yeah. So I've been looking at tons and tons of property. And the number one reason I eliminate all property is parking. And it's like, there's been some tremendous locations, but if I have a tremendous location and a great building for a laundromat, but I have 6 parking stalls, that could maybe work in New York where they have like a good transportation system, but it's not going to work in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, we can have like 20, 30,000 people in 1 square mile and there's still no bus route there. I mean, it's like everybody in Nebraska drives. I mean, for the most part, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I mean, you mentioned some of your criteria. Do you have like a list of criteria? I mean, you mentioned parking and square footage. Is there a list of criteria that you're looking at either for location to build out or to buy?
Yeah. So I have like areas that I have set in my mind now that I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. Like right now, like I am right now wanting to build as fast as I possibly can. But I would build 3 stores right now if I had 3 right locations, but I don't. And I'm also at a point now where I'm not going to force something. I'll wait it out to see when it's right. And like I said, I've built some and I've owned some. And I can tell you the 2 that I bought one and I sold it. And there's one that I took it over. Like I basically paid nothing for it. I took over the store and the building. I just basically took the burden off of them and took over like the payments and whatnot. But it cost me there was a cost to it, but like out of pocket, I spent $0, I guess is what I want to say. And I ended up giving that store away. Like it was my cousin and it was profitable. Like I said, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but the other store I sold to, I think it made $2,000 a month. So it made $24,000 a year. And I remember going there one day and I just was dreading going there and dealing with the problems of that store. It was older equipment. And I literally decided to lock it. And just one day I locked the doors on a business that was making money because it was more of a burden for me to go there and spend my time to collect that $24,000 a year. And I also had a maintenance guy that was spending half his time there. And I don't know how you quantify that into cost, but it was just more headache than it was worth. And it was profitable, but it wasn't profitable enough. And like I said, I don't want the wrong message conveyed, because when I bought that store, $24,000 extra a year was wonderful. At the point where I locked the doors, the $24,000 wasn't enough for the hassle it was causing me.
Yeah.
And my lifestyle, my life changed with the success. And like I said, I really, really don't want to come across wrong, but I was willing to lose. I actually think when I closed the door, I still had payments on the store. So I went from making $24,000 to losing $24,000 by closing it. And I still was happy with the decision. And it still took like this burden off me. And I was very at peace with it. I was so glad that I didn't have to jack with it. The people and it was unattended. So people were trying to break in the machines. And there was an area where like literally someone at noon was trying to pry open a machine, and there's 3 people just watching. No one's calling the police. Nobody cares. So I just like, it's unbelievable to me that they would just watch this happen.
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen that. But I get what you're saying, because at some point, like you said, early on when you're getting started, hey, an extra 24 grand a year is worth it. But once you've found kind of a formula, once you kind of found your rhythm and you're making a little bit better money at these larger locations, and I get it. Like the money at some point, the money is not worth the effort of running that business. So I don't think it's coming off bad, at least not to me, because I understand that for sure. I was going to ask you a question right now. Oh, this is a little bit off of that topic, but I get asked all the time. So I do like coaching, consulting, and
sure.
I talk to current owners. I talk to, people trying to get in the business for the first time. And I get asked all the time, whether they, people should build or buy. And I was just wondering, what advice do you have for people who are wondering whether they should build or buy?
So I think that's 100% dependent on. So one of my good friends is in this business, is in Des Moines. I think he has like 9 laundromats. Like, he has a different philosophy than I do. Like he likes to get TI money, and he likes to take over laundromats, and he can do them for very cheap, and he doesn't mind paying rent. But my criteria, I'm very different. Like, I own every single building that I'm in. Like, I would not buy a laundromat where I don't own the building. And like right now I'm sitting I own a 10,000 square foot building. And I was telling you before this, I didn't realize that I have employees having a meeting in my office right now, and we have a garage that we can use for other stuff, like right next to my office. So I drove over here, and I'm like having this, I got this space, and like this space, this whole building is paid for by the laundromat. It's making money, it's profitable. And I have this 6,000 extra square foot that hopefully when COVID ends, yeah, I can lease this out. It's not getting a lot of action right now, but this will be a revenue producing space. You know what I mean? Like, and for me, just owning it, like I can do things right. Like, I feel like I look at what he does, and he may use like PVC, and he may do different things like with PEX, where like when I build a laundromat, like I'm using cast iron drains. It's not PVC. I use copper lines because I want it to last for 20 years. I don't want to be like band-aiding it. But I also understand that if I am renting someone's building, the Village Inn I just bought, I'm spending like $650,000 after buying the building just to make it a laundromat, right? Well, if I didn't own that building, would I be spending $650,000? I honestly wouldn't. I would be cutting some corners. I'd probably use less expensive tile. I'd use less expensive plumbing, different things like that, because at the end of the year, if I have a 10-year or 20-year lease, at the end of that, I don't get to reclaim any of that, right? Mm-hmm. Where when I own the building, I do. And it's also different. The stuff I've learned like right now too is that if I buy a building, it's great because I depreciate it, right? I never really understood all these people like saying that the rich don't pay taxes. Well, I don't pay taxes right now because I have massive depreciation. Right? I have equipment that's depreciation. I have vehicles. I have buildings. Property, so on paper, it looks like I broke even, but a paper loss of depreciation is not actual cash leaving, right? So that's a tough question. Like, I personally will not start a laundromat without owning the building. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I won't buy any more laundromats in Omaha, but the guy in Des Moines has got a different philosophy. I also want a laundromat. I'm not saying I own a laundromat that does that all mine do this, but like from now on, if a laundromat is not going to produce 10,000 in income a week, I don't want it. Like, again, it's like, I only have so much time in a day. I only have so much resources available. And instead of having 5 laundromats that are all making a little bit of money, I'd rather have one laundromat that's making equivalent to that money, but I only have to deal with it. And that's why the 5,000 square foot thing, like, I mean, I actually am getting into the distribution of equipment right now, and I'm kind of putting my toe in. I think I'm going to go full force, but that's another conversation like I have with people. Like, I'm willing to build someone a laundromat in Omaha that's 2,500 square feet, and I can honestly tell them that laundromat at that size will be successful for this area. I personally would not build a laundromat at 2,500 square feet in that area, even though I know it'll be successful, because it won't hit the success criteria that I want to hit.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, do I advocate never buying a store? I would say absolutely not. As a matter of fact, if I'd have bought that Council Bluffs store, let's just put it like this. Actually, I mean, I never really thought about this, but now I'm thinking about it. If I bought that Council Bluffs store and made that $24,000, I would never be where I'm at today, because I wouldn't realize. I would think that's all a laundromat's capable of doing, and I have to spend a lot of time here to make this money. And like, these machines are breaking down all the time. Well, they're breaking down all the time because they're 20 years old. Like, I got new machines that don't ever break down, right? So if I would have bought that Council Bluffs, I can honestly say that you and I would not be having this conversation. I'd probably still own it, and I'd still probably be working at G, and I would still be happy. Like, I wouldn't, like I said, I didn't hate my job. I didn't leave because I was miserable. I actually miss a lot of aspects about that job, ironically, but I mean, my life wouldn't be horrible or bad or anything. It just would be different.
Yeah.
But like, knowing that I can build a store and what it can do, and getting the right area. And also, like, when you buy a store, you're buying some of the bad design, you're buying their problems, you're buying the corners that they cut. I mean, because like I said, the drains in the one I bought were like, I'm sure it's what they allowed, but I mean, I don't have a laundromat that has smaller than a 4-inch drain. Sometimes they're 6-inch drains. I mean, if you got a smaller than 4-inch drain, it's going to plug. It's going to get caught with something, and it's going to overflow the store, and then you're going to have a nightmare. You're going to have a plumber all the time, and they're snaking and jetting. And I'm getting off in the weeds a little bit here, and I don't know if this is really what you want, but yeah, I mean, I personally see the benefit of both. What works for a guy in Des Moines, it really works for him. He's very successful, and he has more managers, and he enjoys what he does. So I'm not going to say it's wrong. It's just not what I would do.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the beauty of this industry too. And one of the things that has surprised me, doing this podcast, talking to owners, is there's just a lot of different ways to skin this cat, right? Which is a weird saying, but there's a lot of ways to run this business. It's such a simple business. It seems pretty straightforward, but there's such diversity in how you can be successful in this business. So, one person might want to own all the buildings and build everything out. And another person might go in and grab a bunch of those free laundromats that make $24,000 a year, and you stack those on top of each other. It doesn't take too many of them to have a pretty good income coming in.
Yeah, 5 of them, you could live a great life on owning 5 $24,000 laundromats.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know where you're from. Like, are you California?
I'm in LA, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe not you, but in Nebraska, if you make $100,000. What? I mean, you could live in a beautiful house in Omaha for $150,000. Safe, nice neighborhood. I don't think you can buy dirt out there in LA for that.
Okay, I'm just going to end this right now. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I haven't seen $150,000 anything anywhere around here for decades.
They might be 200 here now. I mean, houses are going up, but yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, you're not living in like a Beirut where you're afraid of getting shot coming out of your house at $200,000 here.
Yeah, right. Well, okay. So, how many do you own? You said you're building your 7th right now. Is that?
Well, it's actually my 5th because I sold those 2. Like I said, I was up to 6 laundromats, but now I'm down to 4. I'm building a 5th. I'm actually negotiating land on I've never built from the ground up, but that might be my next thing. I'm negotiating right now. So exciting. And like I said, I'm actually trying to, the properties that I was telling you about, I am always actually trying to buy. The 2 people are older, and every 3 months. And like, this is the first window that I do it through a realtor, but they were like open to it. And I'm like, if they want to sell me those two, and I'd retool them because they're old. And if I get this land, I'll do 4 at a time. I mean, even if I'm still working on this one, I'll do 4 at a time. I don't care. You get the right people, you can scale to whatever you want.
Nice. One quick question. I just know people are going to want to really know this, but okay, we talked about that. The one you got for free. Just out of curiosity, how did you? I mean, I get asked about free laundromats all the time. You know, there's all the videos on YouTube and everything. But how did you come across that one? How did that come across your desk?
There was a guy that does just freelance maintenance that I've gotten. And I used him before I actually had enough to have a full-time maintenance guy. And he is a good guy. And he had just mentioned to this guy my name. And at the time I was doing a pickup delivery business, which I know you're friends with Dave Mentz. Like, I do not recommend, like, it's a logistics business. I hated it. I gave that away too. It was profitable. I gave it away because I just hated it. But anyway, Wahoo is the town. It was kind of between Lincoln. We were talking about expanding to Lincoln, and I thought that this could be like a little hub for Lincoln without building a laundromat in Lincoln. And the guy he was burnt out. He hated it. I mean, he built a laundromat, but he had bought like 15, 20-year-old equipment from the distributor I was telling you earlier. We won't mention his name, but just not a good person. So he bought 20 years of equipment. Now it was like 25, 30 years old. And he was just sick of working on it, sick of patching it. And he had a great layout and a great building. And like I said, he had gotten some stuff from the city to build it. So he had gotten a bunch of money and a bunch of grants. So again, he was just a guy that wanted to be out from underneath it. He was sick of making the payments, and he felt like he had to go do it. And he's kind of like I was with the Council Bluffs, only he was in a different situation. He didn't have an income. Like, he wanted just to go shut the doors, but he had to keep it open because he just had to keep paying the bills. Yeah. At this point, half the equipment didn't work, and like, you know, that causes people to leave the laundromat. And he had gotten bitter. Like, he's a good guy, nothing against him, but he just got bitter. He got sick of dealing with the complaints, so he wasn't dealing with the customer service side right, and he was losing customers for that because, you know, he didn't want to go out and refund somebody at 9:00 at night, and he just wanted out. So I took the opportunity, and it was good. Like, I don't feel like he got taken advantage of. He just wanted to be out. I thought this could be a hub for us to go to Lincoln. And like I said, the business I gave away, I also gave that laundromat. It was my cousin. And the truth is, my cousin's doing great with that laundromat. He's retooled it. It's making a good income for where he's at in his life. And he runs like I said, he runs a wash, dry, fold delivery business. I think he's actually using Happiness, which I think is part of Dave Mentz. Yeah. When we started it wasn't Happiness. It was like Springboard. And Dave Mentz wasn't a part of that company. I think when we started, it was a different guy. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But now Dave Mentz is part of that. I wasn't a part of it when he got on there, but I do know Dave prior, and it is a very successful business. I think my cousin's probably going to make 6 figures off of it, but owning a delivery wash dry service is a logistics company. It's not a laundromat. And I want to own laundromats and not a logistics business. Yeah. And some people want that, and you can scale it, and I get that, and you can make a ton of money, but that's just like, where do you want to spend your time? Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a different business than the laundromat business. You're just using your same assets. And I think that that's the attractive part of it, is you can start a business that you can scale up pretty big with assets that you already own. Right. But it definitely is a different, it's a different. Sorry, business. You getting phone calls. I don't know that blacks out on the screen, but no, you're fine. Like, I was going to do this from a computer in my office, but I'm on an iPhone in a vacant building I own. Yeah. It's going low budget. No, it looks good though. Well, okay. So you own 4 right now. Tell me about how you're running these things. How are you managing these? How are you running these things? So I have 2 managers, and like I have one that handles all like the scheduling and the payroll. And I have one that's more over like making sure the attendants are cleaning properly and whatever the day-to-day stuff. And I actually am involved. Like, I like to tell the maintenance people what to do. And I actually go into the laundromats. I go to L Street every day, but I don't necessarily, like, I'm not needed, I guess. Like, I could definitely leave and for weeks, months, and it probably wouldn't run exactly the way it ran, but it would be fine. We wouldn't fall off a cliff. Like, things wouldn't be done exactly the way I do them, but they'd be done satisfactorily. And like I said, I mean, I spend a lot of time just researching, going for other buildings. Like, I also am building a lake house right now, so I jack around with that. I mean, I'm building a storage unit right now, so like I'm trying to work with Janus International, and I've never done a storage unit, but again, a laundry owner in Iowa City who I'm good friends with, which would probably be good for your podcast. He owns like a tent business, storage units in like 5 laundromats. And I asked him one day, I said, what's the best business? And I thought he would say laundromats. And he said, the tent business. And then I said, what's the second best? And he said, storage units. I'm like, wait a minute. You're telling me laundromats is third place? I'm like, I need to know more about, well, I don't want to do tents because, again, that's logistics business. Like, you got to weddings and stuff, right? Set them up, take them down. But the storage unit thing, I went and spent a day out with him, and we drove around, and I learned, he gave me like a crash course, like an expert crash course in storage units, got me in contact with the right people. So now I'm going to build a storage unit.
I love that, man. And one of the things that keeps running through this whole thing that I'm just seeing, like, is, I mean, you seem like you're a great networker because, you're meeting with, John and with the equipment, and, you're networking with people who are bringing you free laundromats. You're working with, networking with people who are introducing you to businesses that are fitting what you're looking for. And that's where all these opportunities are kind of coming your way. So,
well, and I can tell you a story about that. Like, when I was doing the car wash thing, like I told you about zoning and different things, like one of the first people I called, I had a location I thought was going to be great for a car wash. There's a guy that owns Anderson Food Shops, Ray Anderson, and he owns like probably 50 gas stations, right? Well, he has a gas station next to this land, and he owned the land. And I was like, this would be perfect for the car wash. Maybe I could talk to him. If he sold car washes at his pump, I'd give him $1. So I called this guy up, and I actually talked to Ray Anderson, like literally the guy. Like, I don't get a secretary. I don't get anybody else. And I just asked him, I asked him the question, right? And the first thing he said, you can't build a car wash there. And I said, why? Because you won't sell me the land and let me? He said, no. He said, it's not zoned right. He goes, matter of fact, I couldn't build a gas station there nowadays. And I said, well, how did you? He goes, I built the gas station before it was zoned. And we went into this whole thing, and he taught me about zoning. And he was so proud of, like, he actually ended up offering me, he said, you want to buy that gas station? And I said, why would you sell that gas station? And he said, well, I'm expanding into different things, so I need to generate some income. And I said, how much is the gas station? He said, $2.6 million. I said, I can't afford to buy the gas station. But I mean, he was proud of what he did. Like, this is what I found out. And I learned from him. And I called laundromat owners that I found on the CLA, and I would call them, and they would spend 2 hours with me. Like, Ray Anderson spent 2 hours with me. And like, I had like this myth that people were rich, wanted to stay rich and wanted to keep you from doing it. Well, I learned from Ray Anderson. So there's a Buc-ee's. It's a chain of car washes, and it's Buchanan Energy. I think it actually just got bought out by Casey's. But Ray Anderson bought his gas from Buchanan Energy, which was his biggest competitor, and they didn't hate each other. They had a great relationship. He was a supplier for his gasoline. I'm like, these two people have the most gas stations combined in Omaha, and they're friends. They don't hate each other. They don't look at each other with animosity. But then, like I said, I feel like you cannot ask laundromat, like in Omaha, if I go ask a laundromat owner stuff, they're going to be closed off. They're not going to say anything. They look at me like a competitor. But I go to Des Moines, I have 2 great friends that own laundromats in Des Moines. I have one great friend in Iowa City that owns laundromats, and we share everything. And the truth is, when you ask somebody something, like, I tell people my story because I'm proud of it too. Like, I had some stumbles, I did some stuff, but I am proud of it. And that's what Ray Anderson was proud of what he did. So he shared with me his building this gas station empire, not because he was just proud. He wasn't gloating. He wasn't bragging. He wasn't, and like I said, and he wasn't hiding stuff because he didn't look at me as a threat. Even if I wanted to build a gas station, he knows that one gas station can't serve all of Omaha. There's got to be hundreds. It's not a threat to him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, do you have any tips for people on how to find people to network? I mean, I get asked this all the time, and how do you find somebody who can teach you? I mean, it sounds like you just ask, but you have any other
it is. I would say I would just call people, and some people will say no and they won't. But so I was a sales guy too, right? Like I don't mind. I took it, and then maybe it is my personality, because I'll never forget. Like I did an interview once, and they had me take this test, and they flew this guy out, and he wanted to meet with me, and he said that on this test, when they deal with salespeople, like there's great salespeople, but they don't ask for the close. They don't try to close the deal, right? And he said I scored in the 99th percentile in closing, and he said according to this, you close like a freight train. And that's the thing. Like I asked for the order. I asked for the thing. Like I'm not afraid. I mean, what's the worst thing they can say is like, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to tell you. Well, great. Go to the next guy. I mean, I actually had a good friend in college. Like he used to pick up girls. He'd ask 5 girls if they wanted to go, to his house after the bar. Well, the first 3 would say no, but the 4th would say yes. So, I mean, he just was like, it was a numbers game. Did he ask
one more? Man.
No, he didn't. He stopped when he got one.
Never said okay.
But I mean, I was just saying, like, he set up, like, he would, like, talk up 5 girls at the end of the night. I actually remember because it was a great line. He was like, let's go. And sometimes they would pause because like, he didn't ask. He just said, let's go. He didn't ask a question. And they'd look. And, like, sometimes their friends would be like, no, you got to come home with us. And the second would be like, But he'd always get one like, yeah, sure, let's go. I was like, this is genius. Genius.
Yeah, just ask.
But like I said, you just ask people and like ask the girl out. Maybe she says no. Maybe she says yes. I mean, that's how it works, right?
Laundromat Resource Podcast giving you dating advice right here.
Well, it's not, I can say you translate from dating into like just asking, right? Like, I mean, and like I said, and also I think the truth is with me, like, everybody has something to offer, even my customers. Like I love hanging around the laundromats, and I actually, one of my favorite things is to chat out to customers. And people like, you really don't like that. I'm like, I do. Like, and I think that everybody has something to offer, like everybody. And the truth is, like, I share with these people too. And sometimes they'll ask me questions like, why do you want to do it? Like even Ray Anderson's like, why do you want to do a car wash? And I was like telling him the whole thing. Like, I want a business where I can keep my job. And like I said, he wants to hear that too. Like we just connected, right? Like we had a conversation. He asked me questions. I was honest with him. I asked him questions. And like I said, he was happy to explain to me, and he was proud of what he did.
Yeah.
What he built.
Awesome tips on networking, because I mean, I do think that, if you want to get somewhere in life, you want to accomplish big goals, you got to have other people, that have been there and that know what you need to know to help you get there. Otherwise you're making huge mistakes and it's hard to really get off the ground.
Right.
That little bit of luck. So awesome. Okay. So now you're running with 4 laundromats, all over Omaha, Nebraska right now, building another one. And out of curiosity, do you have like a goal number in mind of how many you want to own?
I think I want to do 12. I mean, that was kind of like a goal. I have 4 kids. That would leave them 3 each. I don't care if they sell them and do something else or run them, but that's just kind of like an arbitrary thing I threw but then again, branching out to like storage units. I actually, right when the pandemic happened, I was talking with Holiday Inn about building a Holiday Inn hotel, because I think that's a great business too, right? Because wherever you go to a Holiday Inn, they're all the same. They have a management company. They have these people that go and like score you. So if something's not being done right at your Holiday Inn, you get to retrain your managers, and they help you, right? Like you're paying a franchise fee. I also like that Holiday Inn makes their money, right, by people renting rooms, right? So they thought of every single way that somebody could steal or manipulate the system to not pay them. So they've taken the guesswork out, and like they're masters at it. Mm-hmm. So I like the fact that you can send 3 managers down to training. They come back. They know how to run a hotel. They also made it so like you can't steal, like people aren't giving free rooms, or they taken that out of the equation. So it's like a true business that runs itself, right? I mean, I know personally a guy who I was like, I was a roommate with his son. He owns like 8 laundromats. Like some of them aren't even in the state. I mean, he can't even drive to them, and they are successful. I mean, he doesn't even go to them, and they're successfully ran. Yeah. So I really like that aspect, but obviously during COVID, I think the hotel hospitality industry is obviously suffering. So I'm definitely putting a pin. Maybe 3 years I'll build a hotel again. maybe not. I don't, maybe I'll move on to something else. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things just from talking to you so far today, one of the things I really love about you is you have this great mindset, right? I see so many people who are like, I want to, learn it all myself. I want to do it all myself. And you do have to do, some of that. But one of the things that I see you doing is looking for other experts and picking their brains and learning from them. And you're doing it on forums, you're making phone calls, you're even considering a franchise like that. That's exactly what you're doing. You're taking, this system that basically has all the expertise built into it and running with it, and taking off with it from there. So I love that mindset. I think we all would benefit from having more and more of that mindset too, relying on the experts. So thanks for sharing all that. We have a little section called Down to Business.
Let's get down to business. Over and out.
And that's just an opportunity for us to hear a little bit about your actual businesses. I don't think you mentioned this yet, but can you tell us when you got into the laundromat industry? What year?
4 years ago. 4 years ago. I'm like, cool. 4 years and going 3 months, maybe 4 months. Yeah. It's like 4 years and 3 months, I think.
Awesome. All right. So you've been into it for 4 years. You've covered a lot of ground in 4 years, man, building all these laundromats. And
I always say I'm in a race with an invisible person. Like there really isn't somebody I'm racing, but like I've just manufactured somebody, and I'm like, I tell my wife, like, I don't even know who I'm competing against. I'm competing against a visible man.
That's funny. All right. Well, I need to pull this up. Can you, okay. So you have, 4 laundromats, you're building another one. I mean, you've mentioned you own the buildings on all those. Do you own more real estate too, or is that what your focus is right now?
I do own more real estate. I bought a building. I was going to make a laundromat. It wasn't right with the city and what I had to do to make it. It ended up becoming a nightmare. So I actually leased that building out. I bought buildings. Like I would also say, like I'm also someone that's not afraid to reshift. I bought a building in Fremont, started going through Fremont, Nebraska, which is close to Omaha. And it started going through the process to build that out. And I just started seeing too many red flags. So I pulled the ripcord. I said, you know what? This isn't right. Let's not force it. And I sold it. I sold the building before I actually put it for lease or sale. I didn't care if I leased it or sold it, but somebody wanted to buy it. So I sold it. I mean, I'm actually, I shouldn't even say this. Like I actually went to a fundraiser. I mean, the networking, random, it's actually ironic. Like my wife is a massive Trump supporter, right? Like, and I'm a libertarian. So, I mean, I like Trump, but I don't really, I probably vote more conservative, not that it matters, but like I'm a libertarian. My wife is a diehard Republican. So we go to this Trump rally and I'm sitting in this tent and it's all these people. And there's like these 4 women just drinking and having a good time. I go up and end up talking to this one lady, and she owns a car wash. And she's like, well, but she goes, the where I use the money I used for fun and this kind of stuff is like I run a fireworks stand. Well, I get to talking to her because like I had literally been talking about doing getting into the fireworks business like last year. And I randomly meet this woman at this Trump rally, and she gives me like the #1 distributor for importing Chinese fireworks out of Pittsburgh. She gives me all this stuff just sitting at this table, and she's telling me she makes $80,000 profit in a town of 5,000 people in Kansas. And I'm like, if I got 1 million people in Omaha and it's restricted to only 40 fireworks stands, these people literally have a license to steal in this town.
Yeah.
So, and the problem with the barrier with that is, right, if you go to China and you buy fireworks. So I've dealt with Chinese because I ran a Bitcoin mine. And it's funny because I always hear people say they mine Bitcoin, but I had a 4,000 amp switchboard where I ran my computers. I bought like $500,000 computers from China, and my electric bill was $31,000 a month. So that was Bitcoin mining for me, where people say like, oh, I got my computer running in the corner. That's not Bitcoin mining. Right. But anyway, so I've dealt with China. Like the thing with China is like you give them, so I didn't give them $500,000 at once. I gave them $100,000 for computers. And like the way China works is they don't start building until you pay them. Like in America, you receive a product, then you pay somebody. China, you pay them and then wait for them to build it and hope they send it to you. It's like the thing. Like you're scared, but they do. I mean, every single one I bought, a month later, my product showed up. I plugged them in. And by the way, Bitcoin, that's the only reason I get back on the CLA. I had a fight with Larry Ansky. He told me Bitcoin would be zero. I think it was 10,000. And it's like 20,000, 18,000 right now. So Larry was wrong.
Yeah.
And I told him he was wrong.
Just to rub it in on him.
See, now, like I said, I'm a libertarian. Bitcoin's a perfect thing for a libertarian. No government controls it. No person controls it. It's like the perfect system.
Love it.
No central bank of Bitcoin.
That's right. Nobody.
But, I mean, we're getting the weeds now. I mean, that's Bitcoin podcast, but
yeah. All right. Well, okay. Let's reel it back into laundromats here.
Well, you were saying another business. So the Bitcoin business, I'm doing a distributor. I'm starting right now I currently have got land. I'm working with a layout with Janice. They're doing storage units because I've never done it, but they're the experts. So they're going to give me a layout, and I'm considering becoming a laundry distributor. I haven't 100% committed to that yet. And this fireworks thing is definitely going to happen. But I recently hired a guy who I'm paying a 6-figure salary to, and I made him a CEO of a new venture I'm doing that is, so Nebraska has just legalized gambling. So I have him looking into skill games and doing distribution for that. And I actually got the exclusive for a certain game in Iowa. And I don't know that I'll build a casino, but it doesn't hurt to try and get a casino license. And the weird thing on that is, like, I don't have enough money to build a casino. But as I told this guy, I said, if we secure a license in Nebraska to build a casino, there will be zero problem finding people.
Yeah. The money will be there.
We will have investors.
Yeah. I love that mindset too. All right. Well, tell me, what is, I mean, you got a lot going on. Geez, man, which is awesome. I love.
With 4 kids. So I can do this at my house.
And 3 of them are triplets, right? Is that what you said?
Triplet 4-year-olds. They just turned 4.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how you do that. I
got a great wife. That's
how you do it. That's exactly how you do it. Yeah. Well, hey, I'm curious. It always blows my mind, just the diversity of how much it costs to do laundry all throughout the country, and places that I would expect it to be expensive are cheap, and places I expect it to be cheap are expensive. But can you give us a ballpark of VIN prices? Like, how much does it cost to do laundry in Omaha?
So right now I have 2. I usually all do all my stores at the same time, but with Dexter, I have 2 Dexter stores and 2 Electrolux stores. So the Dexter, I actually just changed. So a double load, I charge $3. And by the way, John Olson and Dave Mentz, I was struggling of going to $4 on that, but I ended up going to $3. But a triple loader is $5. A 4 loader is $6. A 8 loader is $10, and a 9 loader is $11. I charge $2 for extra washer rinse on anything above a 40 pounder. I charge $1 for an extra washer rinse for anything 40 pounds and below. Dryers, I do so I'm dollar coin mostly, right? Like I have, so every one of my stores takes dollar coins and everything's in dollar increments. Sorry, I got another call. I just declined, but I do 20, like a 50-pound dryer is 20 minutes for $1. It's 24 minutes for $1 on a 35 pounder. And then I have 80 pounders that are 10 minutes for $1. Well, actually, I think it's different on Dexter. Doesn't allow you to do half cent, or I get 2.5 minutes on Electrolux, 3 minutes on the Dexters. So they don't let you do a half increment. So I think that's my vend.
Yeah.
I charge $1 for the little boxes of soap, which I probably should jack that right now because that's been going up. I charge $1 for a can of pop. All my vending machines are $1. Like, you buy a can of pop, it's $1. You buy any snack, it's $1. You buy a soap box, $1. But I have like the upright vending. So I have like the big bags of soap I sell for $10. I sell the little bottles that you get at the Dollar Tree for $4. And I only do that. Like, I didn't even know Dollar Tree existed. I mean, these dollar bottles, I was buying it from a soap distributor for $2.75 for red Tide bottles. And so I was charging $4, which I didn't think it was outrageous. And then I find out that they're $1 each at Dollar Tree. So then I have my managers go buy those, and they're like, should we change the price? I said, no, they're paying $4 for them. Like,
leave it,
keep charging them $4. I mean, I feel like that's gougy, but I wasn't gouging, even though they probably already thought I was when I was paying $2.75, but whatever.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, those are awesome VIN prices. I love those. Definitely higher than what we're getting for stuff out here.
Oh, they're higher. They're the highest in Omaha. Like, no question. I don't know if anybody's. I think I got competitors vending 80 pounders at like $7.50 or $7. So I'm 11 and they're at 7.
Yeah. Well, it's hard.
But I'm clean and attended. Yeah. And my laundry attendants aren't doing wash, dry, fold, right? Because I don't do that. They're cleaning. They're helping people. They're taking care of the store.
Are all 4 of yours fully attended?
No, I keep them 24/7, but I have one woman that's a rover that goes around to all 4 at night, but mine are fully attended from anywhere from 7 a.m. to 12 midnight. But some of them are like 8 a.m. They open, or not open. They're attended 8. I have some that are like, they're as early as 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and as late from 9 p.m. till 12 p.m. But then I have a woman at night that has access to all my cameras, so she can kind of go. I have 2 stores that are fairly busy overnight and 2 that aren't. But when you call yourself Anytime Laundry,
you gotta be anytime. You gotta live up to it. That's right.
Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, we're open.
Yeah.
Which we're actually packed on Christmas. It blows my mind.
I know. It's crazy. Yeah. Because I'm open too. Although I did spend one Christmas Eve digging a potato out of one of my toilets. Because I called a plumber. The plumber came out, tried to root her. He's like, "Oh, there's something hard in there." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. That's why I called you." And he wouldn't get it out and left. This is a Christmas Eve. And I'm like, oh, dude. So I had to drive out there and take the toilet off and try to get a potato out of the toilet. So, oh man, Anytime Laundry. Love it. All right. So you said your dollar coin. Are you an adamant dollar coin? I know that debate can get real heated. Are you adamant?
So I'm not. So all my laundromats take dollar coins or quarters, every single one of them.
Okay.
I have an app store where, and I guess I could hook up Dexter Pay. I haven't done that yet, but I've done a CCI store. And the truth is, like, I probably will end up, I don't know. I actually even, this last store, I even talked to Dave about it. I talked to John about it, and I almost went card. I just wanted to, and like I said, I do believe that card is easier for the owner. And I handle a lot of cash, and a lot of people handle cash, which is dangerous, right? And I've had people steal cash, but it's for the owner. It's not for the customer. So, I mean, this building I'm in right now, like 4,000 square feet of it, or 4,500 square feet is a laundromat. And this is a store that's quarter, dollar coin. I mean, I could literally walk over there if you wanted to see, but dollar coin, quarter, and credit card is fast cards. So we take everything. Like, it actually will take tokens too. Like, because when I did do wash, dry, fold, I could give the tenants tokens instead of money. Mm-hmm. But that's IMNX. IMNX takes quarters, dollar coins, quarter tokens, dollar tokens. But going forward, I will do a credit card payment on all of my stores. The app, I mean, so I have the Waskamat Live or whatever, that new thing at the other store, and it's causing some issues because, I mean, it's still beta, I think. I don't know that it's actually live fire. So, I mean, I'm not trying to knock on them, but I also don't think, I mean, I have older customers, younger customers. Like, younger people don't care. They like apps, and the apps is probably the future. Phone pay is probably the future. But right now, everybody understands swiping a card.
Yeah.
I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, can people be taught? Yeah. But I'll tell you right now, I even have too many apps on my phone. I just deleted 50 apps. I'm like, why do I have this garbage? So I got a fast card app that'll tell me my machines, and I can give them a free start. And like I said, it's just too many apps. Like, I just believe that right now at the current time, I want to do quarter, dollar coin. And another thing is, like, everybody tells me I should just stop the quarters, but I have a location, my first location, I get $2,000 in quarters every single week. And I was selling people quarters. Like, even during this pandemic, Dave Johnson, I sold him $8,000 in quarters, the president of the CLA, because he's up in Iowa, right? And I would say that if I stop taking quarters, and let's say it cost me $500 a week, that is not worth it to me. Like, I wouldn't lose $500 worth of a weekly customer by shutting off quarters. And that's the unknown, right? Because, like, if I went to card, would I lose 5%? Would I lose 2%? Some people claim that you gain customers. So if I found out that if I went card everywhere, and I knew that if I went card everywhere, I would gain 10%, I would buy cards right now. Like every store would be retrofitted this week. But if I went card only and lost 15% of my business just for my ease of life, I am not okay with that. And like I said, I don't know that I would, and that's the worst part about it. I don't know. But I feel like if you can do, like in this store, you can use a credit card, you can use a quarter, you can use $1. Everybody can use this system.
Yep. I like that. How many hours a week are you spending on your businesses? Are you running this as like a full-time job? Or are you doing it kind of part-time? I mean, I know you said you could be away, but what are you?
Yeah, so that's a tricky question because, like I said, I'm doing a startup, so I have conference calls with the guy that I hired that's looking into the gaming. I have lots of, like today, like I don't know if you've been noticing. I don't know if my screen goes black or you can still see it, but I think I've gotten like something like 15 calls and 20 texts since we've been talking here. I try to decline it as fast as I can, but I mean, I spend a lot of time on the phone, so. I mean, I talk with realtors. I'm always looking at new properties. Like I'll spend like half of a day looking at buildings. I mean, I go to the one that's being currently construction. I have like a fight with the city right now because I was the first business in Omaha to be fined for mask mandate. And because I don't require people to wear, I said I'm a libertarian through and through. Like I don't tell people how to live their lives as long as it doesn't affect me. Like I'm not pro-mask or anti-mask. I'm like, if you want to wear a mask, great. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. So I don't wear a mask because I think I've already had COVID, not because I'm making a political statement. I just hate them too. Like I've already got congestion, whatever. Like I said, I don't want to get on the weeds again, but I guess the whole point I'm making is just, I mean, I actually don't even know what I'm making. I'm
You're busy. You're busy. That's what you're trying to say.
I'm busy, but I'm not working 40 hours a week in the laundromat. Like,
right.
I'm not. Like I'm maybe... And I am actively involved, and I do like to be involved. I like to talk to the managers, but I could work 0 hours. I probably I go to the office 40 hours a week, but I would say the time that is spent on laundromat is probably, well, it's hard to say. Like the physical business is probably 10 hours, but if you're talking about going out to the construction site and dealing with the realtors, I mean, it's probably 30.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother deal. Well, cool. We have a section that I like to call Secret Sauce.
Listen up. It's the secret sauce.
And Secret Sauce is, hey, what's one thing that's working for you, your business model, your businesses that you think other owners could implement into their businesses to maybe help them improve it?
I would probably, I mean, this is probably something people say a lot, but it is people. Like, and I would say that people, when you watch football teams and they have coaches, or you watch anything in life, like people start to emulate their leader. So if I'm in here acting like a hothead and screaming and acting irrational, like your management is going to take on that. They're going to take on that role. Like if you're having struggles or you're stressed out, like they're going to reflect you. They're going to emulate you. So I think that you got to get the right people. You got to have the right attitudes in those people, especially if that's who's interacting with your employees and your customers. I mean, an excellent customer experience is like what people should sort of, and I try to ingrain, like there's wording. I was a marketing guy, right? I was in sales. I was an area manager for GE. So like I have signs of all the time, like customers are the reason we have our job. Like don't be combative with customers. Like, they're not lying all the time. Like sometimes a machine doesn't work. Like go understand the situation. And like I said, when someone says something ate their money, I said, first time I always say, just do it. Right. I mean, you don't know this person. If like 2 or 3, I've had people 2 or 3 weeks in a row say like, there's a problem, and I'll go out there and I'll be polite with them. I said, there's obviously something you don't understand about these machines, or they don't work correctly for you. So this probably isn't the right laundromat for you. There's one, whatever the nearest location is, I said, maybe you should try that one. Maybe it'll be a better fit for you. I don't say it angrily or meanly. I just say it very plainly like that. And I've had 2 things happen. I have some people that don't come back. Some people do come back, but all of a sudden they stop complaining because they know that you're going to tell them that, like, you don't want all customers, but you do want 99% of them.
Right.
Well, maybe 95%.
Yeah. Right.
And I also believe too, though, like when you have a customer acting crazy, like I'll tell them they need to calm down or leave, because some people don't understand, like that's affecting other people, that they're uncomfortable because this person's screaming, yelling at their kids and being nuts. And like I said, it's this delicate balance, right? Like you have you're always walking a fine line. But I do believe it's people. This is the secret sauce. I believe that I am good at certain, I would say I'm excellent. Actually, I'll even say that I am excellent at certain aspects of business and life, but there are stuff that I would rank myself as at poor. And the things I'm poor at, I hire people to take on those tasks.
Love that.
And don't be afraid to. Like I said, if you're not good at something, not everybody is good at everything. So hire the right person. Like I said, I was terrible at scheduling. I kept on conflicting stuff. So I have a manager. They do the scheduling. They deal with it when they're switching shifts. And that way, like I said, I would schedule two people. I would schedule one person to work at two different stores or something. And like at the same time, I was terrible at it. I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Or I would give someone like 8 hours and they're like, why did I do something wrong? And I didn't realize I wasn't even given, I'm just filling these boxes. I'm not paying attention to who has how many hours. And like I said, I was terrible. I don't want to get into it. I don't do it anymore. I won't do it because it's causing conflict and I didn't mean to.
And you got somebody good to do it for you. So,
yeah.
I think that's awesome. That's a huge secret sauce. That's hard to do when you're first getting started. I hear people talk about that a lot. And I remember, just getting started, it's like, well, how do you hire somebody when you don't really even have enough money to hire somebody? So it's really hard to do.
And you can't at first. Like when I was first at this, it was me and one other employee. I worked in the stores. I don't work in them anymore, but I did at the time. And physically being an attendant. And you can't, at the beginning, you have to be all things. And you just got to get YouTube pulled up. But I'll tell you what, it's not hard to schedule when you have one employee.
Right.
Everything was infinitely easier. Well, I would even think about getting a loan now. To get a loan, it is no easy task for me to come up with financials. They change from month to month drastically. So it used to be easy to put together a financial statement. Now it's takes me 4 people in 3 days, compiling information to put together a financial statement that's true and accurate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome secret sauce. We have another section we call Pro Tips.
Pro Tips.
And Pro Tips is what's a piece of advice you got for somebody who's maybe looking to buy their first laundromat? They're new to the industry. They want to kind of get in. You got any advice for them?
That I would tell them, I said, we talked about this earlier, but I would definitely try to understand what they're trying to do and what their goal is. Are they trying to replace their job? Are they trying to make this a supplemental income? And I would just say that, like I said before, there's so many laundromats in this town I would not buy. I would not buy them for any amount of money. And there's several laundromats that someone actually physically gifted me. Even Wahoo, the one in Wahoo. If someone were to ask me now, I will give this to you for free, I would say I don't want it. And I wouldn't be lying or hesitating. I don't want it. They're not all good. There are some good ones. There's some ones that are probably been managed poorly that are in good areas, but area is critical. I would tell you that I truly believe 100% that you could be a piss poor operator with a tremendous location and be successful. And I believe you could be one of the best operators, run a great tight ship, and you will never be successful with the wrong location. So I would say, you talk about real estate, location is everything. You literally could build a laundromat and be terrible at everything and succeed if it is an A+ location. If you got an F, I don't care. You could do everything right and still fail.
Yeah.
So that's why I spend all my time looking for, majority of my time right now is locations. And I eliminate tons of them. I've looked at probably 40 buildings, and every single one of them I have the capital to purchase. So that's not the barrier. It was this, I eliminated them on something. And I've looked at 40 buildings in probably 3 months because I really, really want to build right now, but there's just nothing right.
Yeah. You got to find the right thing. And I think that's huge. Take that advice if you're new, even if you're not planning on building and you're planning on buying, which again, different people can make it work different ways. But the location still is huge because you can't move a laundromat. So
it's not either. It's costly.
Yeah.
It's not you just pick up the machines. You got to put the infrastructure in.
Right. So once you lay down those roots, once you commit yourself to a location, you're at that location. So, finding a great location is key. Awesome.
Well, yeah, and like I said, it truly does matter what you're trying to do. If when you get employees and you start getting the bigger laundromats, they don't run themselves. Like you have to be, I mean, when you're running unattended and you have like a cleaning service going in there once a day, that's a completely different operation than what I'm doing. And is it bad? I would never say that. Like I know tons of people that are very successful. It's just different goals. So I would say they really need to know what they want. And I'd also say, don't let it be a crutch though, because if you're looking for I never find the perfect thing, right? Like, I mean, I find something I would say I've never found an A+. Well, actually I lied. I have one A+ location. But there's a lot of Bs out there. Bs are tremendous. They can be very successful. So you don't want to stymie yourself too, where like you're looking for the absolute perfect thing because it doesn't exist.
Right.
Well,
wow.
It does, but I mean, it's like a unicorn, right? How many unicorns have you seen?
Yeah. I mean, I see them daily. So my daughter has a YouTube channel called Evangeline Unicorn. She's unicorn stuff. So I see them all the time.
Most people, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome tip. I think, man, if you're new getting in the industry, write that one down, put it on, the forefront of your mind as you're looking for locations, find a good location. And I think your advice to understand your goal is a huge one too, because you can easily, purchase a location that's going to make 24 grand a year. But if your goal is to get out of your job and replace the 6-figure income as soon as possible, that location might be great, but it's not going to service your goal. So I think both of those tips are awesome tips. We have another section that we call recommended resources. And, do you have any resources that you recommend to people to help them grow their business or themselves personally?
So I went to the CLA, but I think the CLA is not as good as it used to be because I feel like some of the strongest contributors have left. But I've been in these Facebook groups, and while I don't use them, I actually have a Facebook group that's called it's laundromat owners only. Like, and only is the key word. We don't, and it's not for like the newbies. I mean, there's lots of great Facebooks already out there dedicated to helping new people. So I actually wanted to make this a multi-store group, but we ended up not making it. The guy I started with, but it's more for like the seasoned veteran, right? Like, I mean, I wanted this to be like kind of like people talking about, that have been in the business. And I said, I do think it's great for the newbies, but there's probably 4 already that if you're a newbie and you go on there and ask questions, people are willing to help you. Just like the CLA, there's some people that won't help newbies. Some people will. So like I said, it's just more geared to the veterans. But yeah, I mean, and if you own a laundromat, we'll accept you. I mean, but we do boot a lot of people that are in there just trying to sell product or push the laundry equipment or sell soap. So, I mean, we do actively remove people, and it is, if you own a laundromat for 3 months, like you're happy to join, like you could probably get a lot from it. But like I said, we don't generally take the questions like, what is the first thing I do? Well, you find a location. That's the first thing. I mean, you'll find a different, but like you said, and distributors will help you with that too. I mean, resources, distributors are not strong here in Omaha, but there's one in Iowa that's pretty good. But I mean, distributors, if you get the right distributor, but I say get a mentor, call somebody. I mean, just go to a city that you're not going to be in and go. Like I said, I met Randy Crone is a great guy in Des Moines. I don't talk to him that much anymore, but I literally just went into his laundromat and I said, I want to build one in Omaha. Well, like I said, we went to his office. He had buckets of, I remember he had buckets of quarters like all lined around his office. And we talked for 2 hours. And then he told me he had to go because he had another meeting and he apologized. This man gave me 2 hours of his day and apologized for having to leave. I just was unannounced, unexpected visitor. But he's a great guy, salt of the earth. I mean, like I said, there's just talk to people. They will talk. I will talk to people. If I have the time, I will give you the time, but I don't always. Like I said, I may be going somewhere, and don't take it as me being rude or being uninterested. I just don't have the time in that second. But
yeah, and I think that's a perfect recommended resource from you, particularly because you're so good at it. I mean, it comes through hugely this whole interview that you're so good at talking to people and asking questions that you need answers to, and networking and building those relationships and using all of that to, further your goals and to take your next step forward. So awesome recommended resource. Well, Peter, this has been incredible having you on. You have been dropping all kinds of wisdom for over an hour now. Just it's been awesome. It's been super cool. I got one more question for you. If people have a question for you, or they just want to say thanks for sharing, all the stuff that you've had, what's the best way they can contact you?
I have an email address, nebrascalaundry@gmail.com. But I get at least 100 emails there a day. So I would say that if they do contact me, and I may not necessarily see it, and I am extremely busy right now with the new ventures, but I actually have responded to people. People have gotten that through the CLA. But I was also going to say, on your questions, didn't you have like a pro tip thing? Because I do have a pro tip.
Let's hear it, man. Let's hear it.
So my pro tip is like this building I just walked into, right? Like I didn't have to go find a key. Every single building I own, I key with a master key and I have a slave key. So every one of my locations, there's certain doors that my attendants have, but I have a master key. So I can walk onto any of the 7 properties with one key, open every single door, and they're me only can open every single door, and my managers. And then like my changers. So I have change machines that I own, right? Like I own my own Medico lock, or Medeco, however you say it, Medico, that I own it. So I can open any one of I have 4 keys, right? That I carry with me that I can get access to everything. Like I have my own padlock. So I have like I have some kind of special code for a padlock that I have 50 of them. So every single padlock I own, I can open with one key. I have all my changers, all my doors, and then like even my vending machine. Like I have a tube key, because I don't know if people know this, but I was getting robbed from my vending machines because there's only like 3 different vending keys that these vending manufacturers use. Well, I have my own now, and I have them all. I think I have 15 vending machines. They all work on one key. Like I just replace it. So, I see, and I still to this day, I'll go and see friends of mine, and they've got like just glove box full of keys. And I'm like, and it cost me something like $4,000 to do this, right? $4,000. Best $4,000 I ever spent.
Yeah, that's an incredible pro tip, because literally when I bought my first laundromat, they handed me a bucket full of keys,
right,
and a key, like a few key rings. And I have no idea what a lot of those keys go to still to this day. And there's, key. I always joke about, when you buy a laundromat, you're really just getting a key collection, because the amount of keys is crazy. But I didn't even know you could do that. That's awesome.
Here's my keys I carry. This is it. I don't know if you can see this. This is my Medeco. This is my master, and I have an M on it. So I give them all different things, but I don't know if you can see this. It says M.
Yeah.
So like my locations, like Ames will have an A, this master. Then I have like B for Bellevue, L for L Street. Like I said, they all have a letter for like, so that way I can give the tenants keys. But yeah, but like I said, like this building is not even occupied. So I have an R key for renter. So even though, and that way I also have realtors, right? They don't realize that every one of my buildings, that renter key will work on. So this realtor can show this. I give her an R key, but I don't need an R key. I can walk in here because it's master key.
That's awesome.
Every single thing I own. I actually wanted to put my locks on my house on it, which I could have done, made my master key my home thing. But my wife was like, what if you lose your keys and someone comes to our house? I'm like, she's crazy. That would never happen in a million years, but whatever. So I actually bought one of those little Wi-Fi ones that you can unlock it with your phone. So I didn't have to have an extra key for that. I hate keys.
Yes, me too. Oh my gosh.
Matter of fact, the storage unit I'm getting, your phone is your key. Like they're literally going to be able to rent a storage unit online, use their phone to get to the gate, and instead of having like a lock that you have to unlock, use your phone. It's like a little light and it unlocks. I'm like,
genius. Yeah, genius. Awesome pro tip, by the way. I'm glad that you stopped me and gave me that tip, because especially for people with multiple locations, that is huge, because it can get real complicated real fast when you're carrying all these different keys for all these different locations. And, we've had, like Luke Williford. I don't know if you know Luke, but he's probably.
I told him to get keys. I literally, we were talking on Facebook once, because I don't know him that well. But I said, look, you guys got a million things. Like, why aren't you master these things?
Yeah. Yeah. The guy's got, I don't know, last check it was 40. So he's probably at 45 now. Who knows? That guy's collecting laundromats like
I know
they're, special quarters or something. I don't know. But like having multiple locations, getting it keyed like that is awesome. That's such a great tip. Sweet, man. Well, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for taking your time and coming on and generously just sharing your experience and your wisdom and knowledge with us. It's been so good. And I'm super glad that we got to meet each other too. I can't wait to, hear more about all these ventures that you got going on. So thanks for coming on, dude.
Oh, thanks for having me. I sincerely appreciate it.
All right. I mean, that was so good. It was, man, I don't know if you're like me and you're just leaving this interview super jazzed, super pumped up. I know I am, maybe a little bit overwhelmed because he is doing so much stuff. It's so inspiring. I can't wait to hear, how things go for him. I know he's going to be shooting straight to the moon with all the things that he's doing. So cool. For me, it's so hard to narrow it down to one takeaway. I mean, there's just so much in there, but the one thing that I'm going to take away is this quote I loved. It's this it was almost in passing, this little quote that he said. And he said, everybody has something to offer. Everybody, even my customers. And it's so true. And I love that he says he takes time to stop to get to know his customers, not just, to help build his business and build, relationships and loyalty for his business sake, but because he's learning from his customers. And I love that. And it's so easy to get caught up in doing and running the business and focusing on the tasks that need to be done, that it can be easy to forget to slow down and, hey, get to know your customers, learn from those guys. So that's my big takeaway. As always, I really encourage you, pick one thing. If nothing else, pick one thing from this interview, put it into action, because it's the action that brings the results, that brings the success that you want, that helps you achieve the goals that you want to achieve, and that helps you grow in life. And that's what we're all here for. That's what we're all trying to do. So pick one thing, put it into action. And next week, I cannot wait to get back with you guys. It's going to be an awesome week with some more stuff that you can put in action. So if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe on the podcast, subscribe to our YouTube, come find us over at Instagram. The Facebook page got hacked and Facebook won't let me have it back. I've been trying to get it back for weeks and they won't give it back. So I don't know, I might end up trying to get that thing shut down and starting over. But I don't know, if you're on Facebook, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Facebook is not cooperating with me. But anyways, go find us wherever we're located and get in touch with us, because we would love to hear from you. And we'll see you next week. Peace.